You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. This is your host, Ken Lane, here talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And we are the peak of the growing season. Some things to watch. We had a rain this week that was ferocious. I mean, the roof blew off the lodge. I mean, we had leakage in the garden center. We had, there's just some serious, soils flowing places that shouldn't be flowing. It was intense. So you got to really secure these things down. So go out there, and I think it'd be worthwhile, especially if you've got a dry wash or where water is flowing through your property. You need to go walk that and just check it. Make sure it's still intact. Make sure it doesn't overflow its bounds. Take a walkabout. Make sure your roof, the things didn't lift. Just some basic things. And this is an unusual, a rainy, stormy monsoon. It's actually not that unusual. As a kid in the 70s and 80s, this is normal. This is the way it would work. You'd go off to church in the morning, come back, and it might be raining. By the time you got back, you're only gone for a couple hours, plus a lunch. And it might be raining. It kind of reminds me of that. And so we've had some good rain, above average rain. Well, I don't know what this week's totals are, but last month, very much above average. This month we were trending low, but then we've had two big storms. So it quickly adds up. And so that's a good thing. But watch that erosion. You need to, riprap is what the landscapers use for, like, the other name is ankle busters. These round river rock that they stack up hillsides. Instead of using concrete, we'll put some fabric down and put this riprap the rock or stack the rock up the hill to hold it intact. The other one is the best one, the most natural one, the one that I use myself, plants. Plants like junipers, cotoneaster, grasses, any of your ornamental grasses, especially a lot of the native stuff. Very good. Euonymus. You've got creeping mahonia, which is a native that grows wild up in the Bradshaws, up Mingus, grows wild in the mountains of Arizona. There's another one that grows wild. It's manzanita, creeping manzanita. There's a manzanita variety, evergreen with the red stems, that it only gets maybe 6 inches tall, but then creeps and runs out. So you can plant these along a hillside or a driveway, and it will keep that soil intact. Because once it roots out, it just secures, locks in place all of that soil. It's a good time to be planting those types of plants because you can see where the physical damage is to your yard, where the downspouts are really not doing their job. I need to extend those out and keep the water from flowing or get it away from the foundation. You really need to focus on that, especially you folks with new houses. Yes, they engineered it. Yes, it should go by itself. Yes, it should be no worries. But you don't want that water to gather up next to the foundation, or your house can start slipping and sliding in the mud. If you don't get down to bedrock, if you don't get down to something more secure, you can have issues. So you want that water to flow away from the foundation, down those dry washes, or down the hills, or to the gutters, or to the street where it flows it away from your house. So if it does damage, if you're on a hillside, you need to think through, either rip-wrap that or secure it, lock it into place, then plant a few plants to keep it from washing away. We can help you with that. It's pretty easy. That's where a camera phone. Snap a picture. The only thing you can't tell with a picture is the distance. So if you could give us, how long is it? It's a driveway. Got it. It's a patio. Yeah, it's a back fence. Got it. But I can't tell how long it is. Is it 30 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet? If you could tell us how long with a picture, what we're looking at with that picture is what else is growing there. So we can match companion plants. And so we're looking for shadowing. When I look at a digital photo of your iPad or your phone, I'm looking at shadowing, what other kinds of plants are really happy there. So I go, if a rose of Sharon is happy there, well, so will a lilac and a forsythia. And I'll just start matching these companion plants together going, oh, these would be good at holding that hill in. And if that grows, this will grow equally as well or better. So that's really valuable. I just can't see the distance. So if I go, oh, I got 50 feet and I want to make sure I space them at 6-foot centers, oh, you'll need, 9 of those, whatever you need. So those are some things that we're there to help you garden smarter, better, with less mistakes. That's our goal. Our niche in the marketplace. This is Waters Garden Center. I would say this is all of my friends that are small business. I'd say Plant Fair up in Payson, Warner's up in Flagstaff, Christopher's in the White Mountains. We're all friends. We share trucks together. We go to markets. We go to farms. We do recon for each other going, hey, Misty, we've got a great looking crop of spruce trees, and it looks like they're well rooted. You want some? We'll take pictures back and forth. I would say our niche in the marketplace, I guess I can't speak for friends, but definitely Waters Garden Center. Our niche is our plants, they're better, and they're stress-free. So we go and we hand pick the different plants, especially the bigger trees. We got 2-inch caliber maples coming in. They're spectacular. Oh my gosh. I'll be in here in a couple weeks getting ready for the fall planting season. So northern Arizona, the central highland area especially, is famous for our fall-colored maples. They do really well. Our aspens, they do really well. And so we're going to hand pick those. And then we've got professionals that make sure they never get stressed. You can have a nice plant, but if you let it go bone dry, it starts to wilt and starts to have issues, or it gets insects or fungals. And then you get it to recover, but it's already been stressed once. Once you get stressed, it's easy for it to collapse again. And so you get this plant that you thought it was nice. You bought it from a backyard wholesaler, whatever thing it was, and then it got stressed, or a box or something that just doesn't water like they should, and it collapses, and it gets stressed. You don't want a plant that has been stressed out before, because it will not perform as well as one that's been handpicked and stress-free through its life. That's the way you want to go. So anyway, and then to do that, we have a little bit nicer plant. Our thinking is charge an extra $1 and have a plant that is way over the top. I mean, just, wow, I can't believe that. So we charge a little bit more because it's a nicer plant. We've put more into it. We've held it longer at the farm. It's more mature. It's older. We've pruned it back an extra time. We're looking to make this obviously better. And so our customers, let's face it, a small business, I can't compete against Walmart. Who do I think I am? They're going to have the top 5 plants, thousands of them, with no selection and a great price. That's what they're going to do. We're going to have a lot of selection with bold plants that they wouldn't even imagine selling something as nice as this because it's too expensive. Going, wow, look at this. This thing's a rock star in your yard. That's our niche. That's where small business can outshine every time an Amazon, a box store, or whatever it is. And I think we've had, our numbers are off the charts, and most of my friends that have garden centers have been around for a long time. They're having a really good year too. So it's kind of fun to watch across the country. So we're seeing, we belong to the Garden Center group. This is every week, there's like 150 nursery owners. We share our data, how were sales, what were the costs, what marketing events did we have, because we're small. It's easy to get isolated. And so we share amongst ourselves. It's kind of like a co-op. It is a co-op that we get together and we just share data back and forth. It's non-competitors because you're sharing financials, human resource. You can ask questions of anything. This week it's been truck wraps. So this advertising, we're showing pictures to each other of the different wraps, advertising signage that we put around our delivery trucks, planting crews, trucks, that kind of stuff. It has been fascinating and a hoot. You get to see people's personalities coming out in their advertising. Anyway, we've got Lisa Waters Lane coming in the studio. Garden questions, lots of garden content. I'm going to go into weeds deep. I mean, really deep. Coming up, I'll go into bugs, what I'm doing to keep bugs at bay at the bottom of the show, bottom of the hour. We've got a lot packed into this show. Be right back, though, with Lisa Waterslane and your garden questions.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, also known as the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain landscapes.
Hi, Ken here with the plants of the week and our timeless beauty, desert willow.
Large, fragrant burgundy and lavender flowers appear in big, bold clusters all summer long.
This unusual water selection is prized for its long bloom time without setting the usual seed pods.
The flowers are highly attractive to hummingbirds, 100% Arizona native, and just $49.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love their native plants to bloom, they love to shop. Hi, Ken at Waters with our Monster Monsoon Sale, our only sale of the year.
Truckloads of fresh autumn maple, aspen, and spruce have just arrived, and we need room, so summer plants must go.
Perennials, trees, shrubs, even pottery must go, and it's worth your while with plant sales at 25, 45, even 65% off.
It's Waters' only sale of the year at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Where people who love great plants at sale prices, they love to shop.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we are back with Lisa Waterslane in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are your neighbors talking about? And so we think that's valuable to share. And so we do that through our Facebook. Been going crazy. Emails coming back. We've got, I don't know how many thousands of people that get the weekly garden column, more than the local paper has. We've got more subscribers. So you can interact with those folks and you get a feel for what their issues are. Our gardeners have issues. Speaking of issues, we had a fabulous, delightful backyard party on Thursday at our house. And so getting the gardens ready for the entire Waters staff, all of their spouses, employees, everyone came over. So all were welcome. So once you're part of the Waters family, you're always part of the Waters family. And it's just a fun time to get in the gardens that looks so good. It poured down rain like noon on Thursday. Is that right? And then it dried up and it was dry all evening.
I wouldn't say dry, but it wasn't raining.
It was humid. Things were. The seat cushions were soggy.
Yes.
So you got 20 plus seat cushions. We're trying to dry them out the last second. So what a fun event.
It was fun. It's always nice to be out in the garden. This is the perfect time of year to be out using your patios. And it's just fun because we had the little fireplaces going, and it was just relaxing.
I had taken all of the peach harvest, not all, but a lot of the peaches, and I juiced them. I put them in the margarita machine. So we've got a commercial grade machine. So, and I juiced them and then poured them in and made a peach sorbet, liquid margarita, Mai Tai. I don't know what it was, but it was really good. Oh my, melted in your mouth. Had little peach chunks in there. And we made sangria. We had lemongrass and lemon cucumber Chardonnay sangria.
I'd have to say that one was kind of iffy.
Oh, really?
It was.
Oh, it didn't go over well. That's why the red one went better.
Yes.
The red one was basil blossom and lemon cucumber. You can tell what we're harvesting from the gardens. We just harvest going, hey, what can we make with this? Oh, here we go. Yeah. And so I made that, and it went over big time.
Yes. We kind of sweetened them up a hair. I don't think you knew that. But
that's what you do with sangria. You got to add a little bit of something. Yeah, otherwise.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a fun event. Well done.
Yes.
So should we go to garden questions?
Sure.
What people are talking about?
We could definitely do that. So Shannon lived in San Antonio, Texas for a long time. And there they have great big, beautiful crepe myrtle trees.
Oh, yeah.
And so her question is, she doesn't see them here. Do they not grow here? What's the difference? And why can't you have one here?
Well, you ain't in Kansas anymore, Toto. Well, we do grow crepe myrtles at the probably 6,000 foot level and below. So not all over northern Arizona, but most of it. What happens, though, in the mountains, though, is some years, about every 10, 12 years, we get this intense bitter cold. We go sub-zero, and it stays there for a week. The ground freezes, and it just brutalizes the crepe myrtles. And so if it had a double graft or it was growing up high, it kills off the top. The plant will actually burn back down to the ground, and actually like a perennial, and it will come back from the roots, but the tree piece of it gets damaged. And so you won't see any top growth that's over about 10 or 12 years old. So that means they'll grow into a big bush or a short tree, but you don't get that San Antonio or the southern states get magnificent crepe myrtles because it just doesn't get that Wisconsin cold sustain that damages it. So we'll see that with some of the rosemary varieties. Some certain plants, a red-berried pyracantha, certain kinds of plants get damaged and brought back to the ground. We kind of get cocky. We're going, oh, global warming, it's perfectly. We're not going to see cold again like that again. We're a zone warmer. Let's go plant some more. And then it surprises us 2 years later when we find out some of the plants got damaged in our yard. So that's why you don't see big crepe myrtle trees. You will see big lilac. You'll see big crepe myrtles. You'll see big, not crepe myrtles, rows of Sharons. You'll see some other things that are hardier. But a rose of Sharon will go down to minus 40 degrees, some crazy man cold. Grows anywhere in northern Arizona at any elevation, whereas crepe myrtles, a little more sensitive or tender.
True.
So they are looking good, by the way. Our crepe myrtles in the backyard, everyone was commenting on them because they're just so bright. There's no color like a crepe myrtle, that bright, that fluorescent flower is so nice.
Yes. And the thing I particularly like about crepe myrtles is they're blooming a little bit later, kind of mid to late season, when everything else has kind of maybe lost its shine. That's when crepe myrtles really take over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, even the roses are kind of in this in-between state. They will have a flush of growth in September that's just magnificent, even better than spring. But there's this little gap here. And that's why you really want to plant your gardens in sequence of seasons and what blooms when. So you always have something rolling through in flowers. I did notice, too, our re-blooming lilac or bloomerang is coming back into bloom. I was really trying to get it to flower, in full flower for the party. And no matter what I did, you just can't force nature sometimes. You know, the turtle, run faster, run faster. You just can't, can't get them. I fertilized them. I cared for them. They were just opening in another 3 days, full bloom, and the entire backyard will smell of lilac. But it didn't help us for the party on Thursday. That's okay.
We'll enjoy it later.
We will indeed. We'll have another party.
All right. Bill from Prescott Valley would like to know, are ornamental grasses considered xeriscape plants, or do they require a lot more water?
Well, it depends on the grass. It kind of like shrubs. Are shrubs, you just said, are shrubs xeriscape or not? Depends on the shrub. Are trees? Depends on the tree. There are many grasses in northern Arizona because we're mainly prairie grasslands, grazing lands. So you've got grasses like bear grass. It's a classic, hardcore xeriscape. Native deer grass, miscanthus. You've got quite a series of grasses. What's that?
Grama grass.
Grama grass, absolutely. There's a lot of those that naturalize. Once you get them going, they can go all by themselves. Now, with that being said, I would say it's best to put them on a drip system and then treat them like your trees. So water them once a week. Don't overwater them. Don't put them in the middle of the flower bed or they won't be happy. No grass will be happy with that. They'd be better off with treat them like a tree or a shrub because they've got a very deep and very fibrous root mass, much like a palm tree or something. So it's very, and when it rains, it gathers up all the moisture and takes it into itself. And so we have quite a number of grasses in our backyard, which is completely native xeriscape. I mean, it's designed, it's not rough and tumble west I mean, it's fabulous, gorgeous, low water, low care, low maintenance landscape. We have quite a number of grasses back there. And all we do with it is fertilize it a few times, and then we cut it back with a hedge trimmer in the winter. That's it. That's what grasses can do for you.
Right. They are easy care. And they're another one that they really start showing their true colors. They look fabulous late summer into fall.
If you're going to plant a grass, now is the time to plant it, because you can come to the nursery and you can see what it looks like. It's starting to have the plumes on it. And so now's the time. Whereas in spring, when everyone's planting, they're cut back. They're just starting to emerge. They just don't have that.
Pretty.
No. Were you going to do that when you got a lilac in full bloom or forsythia glowing gold?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Another quick question. Jackie would like to know, she's fully harvested her peach tree, but it's looking a little rough. She wants to know if she can trim it up this time of year.
Absolutely. So you pick the fruit, you fertilize it right afterwards. That'll green it back up because it's taken all of its energy and put it into the fruits. You need to replenish that. And then give it a haircut. Trim it. That way the structure or the scaffolding, the structure of that plant, can hold more fruit next year. So if it's want to keep it shorter, like our peach is in a container, we trim it back so it doesn't get too tall. We don't want it to overgrow its space. So absolutely fertilize with all-purpose plant food and then trim it. Give it a haircut. I would say pretty serious. Give it 10%, 15% haircut. Major limbs, cut back. Absolutely can trim back fruit trees after the harvest. Ken and Lisa Lane and the Mountain Gardeners, we will be right back with more.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Waters with our annual native plant sale.
No scraggly natives here. These are big, bold, local specimens bound to inspire.
From native pines to the largest selection of agave and yucca, even Waters cactus are blooming in celebration.
The landscape doesn't have to be natural and boring.
We specialize in native wildflowers that bloom locally for easy care color.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love local natives, they love to shop. Hi, Waters with the plants of the week and our Buzz Butterfly Bush.
Buzz is Prescott's first patio-sized butterfly bush.
The superior magenta flowers outshine our local natives and the perfect size for courtyards and patios.
Add some fashion color to that native landscape or simply give to Mom as a gift.
It's simply that pretty, all for under $40.
You'll only find them at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love magenta flowers love to shop.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
Now, we need to cover insects, bugs. What happens in the mountains of Arizona is everything grows faster this time of year, including the insects, including the fungus, including everything, weeds, everything grows faster, including your plants. That's why it's a great time to be planting a new tree or a shrub or a big spruce. This is perfect, a new hedgerow to block out that neighbor for some privacy. This is a tremendous time to be planting. We just had a party, a company party. I did not want flies or mosquitoes to be bothering guests. These are your friends, people you work with every day. You want to make sure they are as comfortable as possible. So here's what I did. And this year, I have been way more preventative. They've just been bad. Spider mites started out a month early in April. Who's ever heard of spider mites in April? I mean, I've never seen such a thing. This is a summer phenomena, but it was so dry through last winter that they just gained a foothold and they took over the spruce. The Alberta spruce, especially the junipers, roses. They were in my roses galore. Budworms, little tiny caterpillars have been eating my geraniums and petunias. They're driving me crazy. The aphids were bad early spring. And so I just got in this habit of I'm spraying at least once a month, just trying to knock things back. Actually, the spider mites were so bad I was spraying every 2-3 weeks. And so with the guest coming on board, they're coming to the backyard, just relaxing, enjoying time as family and friends, just gathering. There I went through the night before the party. I put a hose end sprayer in, and I went after the areas where the flies gather. In my yard, it's underneath the huge junipers. So I've got a magnificent specimen of a juniper. I've pruned it up so you can see the trunk and that gnarly, it's a alligator bark juniper. It's got this character to it that's uniquely juniper. And then I've got some art underneath it, some gardens underneath that, and then I downlight it and I uplight the trunk. It's magnificent, but the flies love to hang out there. So I've got a fly trap. I put those out there, not fly paper. Those don't work in a windy climate. Don't even bother putting fly paper up. You know, your grandparents, you have this paper strip with this glue on it. The flies are supposed to get stuck to it. What happens is the wind blows and it gets stuck onto the post that you've glued it to, or gets up on the eaves. It's just not good. The bags or the jars they've got these stinky, they're gross actually, bags where the flies are attracted to the smell and they get stuck in there and they can't get out. And so thousands of flies will be stuck in these things. I put them out away from my entertainment areas, and the flies are attracted away from the entertainment areas and they get stuck in here and they just die. In addition, I'll also spray that area with multi-purpose insect spray. I've got my hose end sprayer. I go through and I spray out. And if you do it at first light, or maybe at the end of the day, you'll see little flies hovering around, just flying around. You can actually gun them down. I mean, just like hose them right down. They'll drop and die right there. But it really knocks back the fly population. I don't think I saw one fly out there yesterday because I had a trap, then I had sprayed for them the night before. So if you hit them, they die, and then when they land on that area, they'll die. And so it kind of cuts back the bugs. I also sprayed very heavily my juniper upright screening junipers. This was my juniper native, but I've got Spartan junipers used as a screen. That's where the mosquitoes like to hang out because it's dark and it's away from the wind. They'll be inside the shrubs that are so pretty, but they're also hold moisture, and they just hang out there waiting till evening comes where they can come digest your blood right out of its system. And just, they're nasty little creatures, and there's some disease issues you just don't want to deal with. And so there I just sprayed down those shrubs that seem to be more moist, dark areas, and that's where the mosquitoes come out of. Between that, where the flies kind of hang out and the mosquitoes kind of hover and wait till evening to come out, we had no mosquitoes. Not one person even complained, and not one person had a fly issue. And this is a full-on dozens of people at a backyard barbecue. There should have been an issue, but because I was strategic with it, I think you can do the same thing in your own backyard, the multi-purpose insect spray. You just hose down those areas where they seem to gather. It takes out aphids, takes out spider mites, takes out grasshoppers, caterpillars. I've been using that to take out caterpillars. It just kept everything comfortable and in check. If you've got a backyard wedding, a bigger corporate party, a gathering of friends, old-time classmates, that's an easy way to just strategically plan ahead and keep them in check. If you've got grasshoppers taking over, there's some bait you can use. If you've got snails and slugs, there's some strategic organic baits you can use. If you've got fire ants, big mounding ants, we've got some organic fire bait ant that you can use. Let's come in and see us. We've got this fancy microscope that blows up a problem 200 times its size so you can see on a TV monitor. We can help you with those insects in the backyard of your own backyard. We'll be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
In a new place, it's difficult to know who to trust, how to get help at the house, and which nursery will simply do what they say they'll do.
At Waters Garden Center, we're here to help, in the landscape at least.
Our team of plant ambassadors know your neighborhood, the plants that add color, increase privacy, and add fragrance and beauty.
And we can show you exactly how to plant locally, or we have teams to do all the work for you.
We are Ken and Lisa Lane, and we guarantee our plants will live up to every promise here at Waters Garden Center.
I hate weeds. Monsoon rains are so refreshing, even my landscape comes alive, but so do my weeds. Stop weeds in their track in one simple step. Waters Weed and Grass Stopper spreads like fertilizer. It kills weed seed before monsoon rains allow them to sprout. No need to weed. It's safe for trees, even flower beds, and so much safer than that toxic waste the big box sells. Weed and Grass Stopper, it's just $24 and only found at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. And we are back with Lisa Waters Lane in the studio. She comes in and just this whole segment's all about her. The artistic, fragrant, colorful, what do you do in the backyard to just make it feel more homey, better? So many yards are boring, sterile, beige, just not good enough. So how do you decorate it so you get that flair? And she's a master at it. So welcome back to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we were gone a little bit, came back home, and I was looking at some of my flower pots and, in the gardens, and sometimes you just have to touch things up mid-season or late season. And we still have lots of outdoor entertainment time left. And we go till November easily, using your patios and all that and enjoying them. Some of my pots, like one of my pots, the wave petunia just kicked up its toes and said, "I'm done."
That was surprising. Where did that come from?
I have no idea. But it was just it was ugly because it's right out front. So I had to pull it out. And then some of my pots, just the way you thought they were going to come together, they didn't come together. So it's kind of, this season is that refresh your pots a little bit. It's looking at your perennial beds going, everything bloomed spring. Now I have nothing but green. Maybe I need some late summer, early fall color in there. So it's a good time to reevaluate the yard and see what kind of color you want to put in.
I did notice that having all of your colleagues over to your house. Mm-hmm. So Waters' party was on Thursday. That is a tremendous motivator to make sure you got all the smartest gardeners in the county coming to your house. We call them employees or teammates or colleagues, but these folks are real plant nerds. I mean, they know stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're coming over to look at your gardens. And so we gave tours and showed off the house and you just want your friends to see what you're all about. And so I noticed the pressure was on, and you the petunia it might have been borderline, but the pressure was on. Pull it out and go. I lost, in the backyard, the lavender. It died. And so I overwatered. I pulled it out and went, it was in a pot. I didn't think that was even possible to overwater a lavender. They're so drought hardy that you can even kill those in a container, in potting soil with a drip emitter, watering not that often. It's still overwatered. So I had to pull it out, and I put some salvias, something just red salvias, just to kind of make sure the pot looked okay for the party in the backyard. So what things are you doing in the what things can you plant now that would really up the color factor now through Thanksgiving?
Sure. So we got some great new perennials in that were absolutely fabulous. That would be great in the pots, great in your beds, whatever you want to do with them. The first one has a horrible name.
Okay, you'll start with that one. It only gets better.
Who decided this was a good name for a plant? But the main name is sneezeweed.
Yeah, that is a horrible name.
Isn't that who thought of that?
I want that and some poop plants. Yeah, let's go for it.
But it's called mariachi sombrero sneezeweed. Now, of course, the botanical is a helenium, I believe is. But they're kind of almost a cross between a daisy and a sunflower type look to them. They start blooming late summer and they go all the way to fall. So tremendous for those pots where you just need to fill in some extra color. There's a yellow one And then there is one that they call Bandera, which is kind of a variegated orange and white one. But very, very pretty. I mean, not a great big huge blossom, but just lots and lots of blossoms on a real pretty green plant. It gets about 18 inches tall, so easily going to fit into those containers or your perennial beds, kind of that midsection of your perennial
A true
bed.
perennial. It comes back every year. And I did actually look at the name, and I went to my up going, okay, I've got allergies. I'm going to go sniff this flower. It does not cause you to sneeze.
Yeah.
I don't know where they get this name. That's crazy.
Yeah, I wish they'd think about it a little more.
It's probably someone in a greenhouse. They don't get out much, and they go, well, I don't know. Let's call it sneezeweed. Slap him. Don't let him call. He isn't in control of naming plants. Anyway.
But real pretty. Ought to take a look at it. We also, so when I took out the wave petunia, I was like, okay, what I'm going to put in this pot that looks pretty right now. We have some absolutely gorgeous echinaceas in right now. There is a new one that's kind of a yellow one that, I was trying to think of the name of it. Yellow Falls is what they call it. So I took that and I mixed it with the orange one, the flamenco orange, and I put those two in that pot. And it looks absolutely, the contrast between the colors, and then I have, what's that one plant that I have a ton of? That
Potato vine?
Potato vine.
The whole front yard is potato vine. You can like that. We're committing to potato vine this year, and it's taking over with the rains.
It is taking over, I'll have to say. But that with the soft chartreuse green of the sweet potato vine looks really
it is pretty
nice
fascinating.
together.
Yeah, that's really good.
That was an excellent combo.
You should explain too. Echinacea, for most folks, your grandparents grew it.
Yeah.
It's an old-fashioned plant. But it's so tough and so hardy that they're coming out with new colors now. So echinacea originally would be a dark pink or to purple.
Right.
And
It was
so
a
kind of
purple,
boring.
a purple cone flower.
They didn't
was
show up in the garden as nicely, especially
Yeah.
from a distance. These new colors are bright and vibrant, much like a crepe myrtle. It's
Right.
got that brightness to it in the flower.
And frequently will see reseed itself in other places. I think in the backyard, we have some kind of, I know we did not plant, but they're kind of coming up in weird spots. But they're beautiful back there and tough.
We plant those for the birds, which we like attracting birds. Well, echinacea, if you keep deadheading those, they will keep sending off new flowers. But then about October, we let them go to seed, and then the birds can use those as a food source through winter. Well, I think they pick them up and drop them around.
Yeah.
And so they start growing. It's a wildflower. It starts growing in other places.
Yeah. Very, very pretty. You mentioned you killed off a lavender, but we have a really nice lavender out there called Phenomenal.
Sounds really neat. Or phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably
That's actually a good name.
It's one of the more cold hardy lavenders out there. I think it's zone 5 to 8.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it can definitely take the cold, whereas some of your other, like your Spanish lavender, is not quite as cold hardy. I just walked by it. I was like, oh, what's that smell? I was like, oh, my goodness, it's lavender. Wonderful smell to it. Truly, truly be terrific in a pot by like maybe where you sit and read your book in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
Enjoy your coffee in the morning. It would be tremendous out there.
Same bloom, is it, or it's just got that gray foliage,
It's actually
velvety?
almost a more green foliage.
Oh, really?
To it.
Neat.
And the blossom is that tall, skinny,
Like an English lavender kind of thing. Oh, very nice.
Yeah, definitely one to take a look at. And then we have the Gloriosa daisies, which I think every garden should have some Gloriosa daisies. There again, they kind of are that late summer, late summer into fall. They definitely have more of the sunflower look to them, just that really bright yellow flower out there. The Gloriosa is a little bit smaller flower, but there again, you're getting a lot more than some of the others that have the bigger flower to them, but not as prolific bloomers.
I find those, they sort of, from a distance, they look like a sunflower. But when you look up close, instead of one great big flower, the same display, same big head, but it'll have a dozen flowers making the same size display as a regular sunflower and much shorter. It doesn't flop over, easier to care for, and it still attracts birds, still consistently comes back every year, can reseed. Every yard should have at least one. Every cottage garden absolutely needs more than one, but there's certain kinds of, they just are tough. And animals, they don't need it. Javelina, deer, rabbits, they don't bother this type of flower.
Right, definitely. So we also got some, I always mix I can never say this name correctly. Crocosmia.
Yeah.
I always want to say something else.
Yeah.
Beautiful colors. So crocmosias get about 2 foot tall. They have almost maybe like a cross between a freesia and a gladiola, the way they send their flower stems off. One is a beautiful orange color with a yellow center. And then the other one, called Columbus, has almost like a butterscotch color. It's not really yellow. It's not really orange, but gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Would do wonderful in pots to kind of give you some height in those pots if you needed to, or towards the back of that perennial bed or up against a wall.
They are pretty spectacular. Mm-hmm. They are showstoppers, and you only got, I don't know, maybe 100 of them out there. They're going to be gone pretty fast because they're that showy. Every cart I'm noticing has one on the into the garden center at the register. You see everyone has one of these because they're such an unusual, brightly colored plant. Mm-hmm. Well, Lisa, thank you. The plants you can plant in the summer to freshen up those containers or just the gardens in general. Lisa Waters Lane will be right back with more in just a moment.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Forsythia already flowered?
Lilacs languishing in the heat?
Spring bloomers already pooped? Butterfly bushes are going strong and rebloom all summer long.
Pollinators like butterflies and hummingbirds love butterfly bush for their fantastic fragrance and bright summer colors.
These tough head-high beauties love summer sun and bloom nonstop.
Fresh new plants just arrived at the place where people who love butterflies and butterfly bushes, they love to shop.
Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
Hi, Kenneth Waters with our Monster Monsoon Sale, our only sale of the year.
Truckloads of fresh autumn maple, aspen, and spruce have just arrived, and we need room, so summer plants must go.
Perennials, trees, shrubs, even pottery must go, and it's worth your while with plant sales at 25%, 45%, even 65% off.
It's Waters' only sale of the year at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Where people who love great plants at sale prices, they love to shop. Now, weeds they're bad. Oh my goodness, they are really bad. Let me just spend just a moment. This is what I'm doing in my own backyard, okay? Weeds. Now, again, my name's Ken. We're friends. We're just talking over the back fence, just talking. Here's what's working in my yard. I think if you use a couple of these tricks, they'll also work in your own backyard. For goodness sake. I was going by a local business owner, obviously had too much labor on board, didn't have anything for this young man to do. Oh, I felt for him so much. So he gave him a bucket and like a screwdriver, said, here, go weed the front landscape. I'm going, oh, that is so painful to watch. What a waste. Don't be doing that to your back, your knees, your hands. It's so much easier than that. And we can keep it safe. We can keep it organic. It's so much easier than weeding by hand. That's when man was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. That was what he was given. That was the curse, to go weed. But we've gotten smarter as we mature. We've learned how to control weeds better. Let me help you with a couple of things. One thing, first of all, the spurge. There's a low-growing, very soft, you almost want to let it grow, but if you do, it will take over the entire yard. You can't do that. You won't have a rock lawn left if you let spurge get in there and start running around. It gets in containers. It's terrible. Blows in by seed. The birds bring it. It's a spurge. It's a terrible weed. Looks innocent, but then takes over. With that, what I'm doing is I'm spraying that with burn out. B-U-R-N, burn, and then out. All one word, burn out. What burnout is, it's a completely organic weed killer. They've done some real serious science, and they've come up with this super crazy concentrated vinegar. I mean, way more than you can get at the warehouse store in a gallon jug. It's not that. That won't even touch it. You need something intense, like 10 times that strength. That's what this is. Vinegar, which is safe. I would say wouldn't put it in the dog bowl or spill it. I wouldn't dip my gloves into it and stuff, or might tinge your fingertips. But it's vinegar, just really strong. And then they added some herbal oils. And the oil is what makes it work. You've got strong vinegar, but our native weeds tend to, it beads up and then rolls off, so you don't get the knockdown. Well, with these herbal oils, they come in there and they help the plant absorb, to take in, to coat the entire foliage. So now all of a sudden you've got an organic weed killer. You spritz and spray, and it is darn close to as good as any glyphosate ever dreamed. There's a couple weeds I'm still struggling with in my own yards, but I'd rather struggle with a couple weeds and keep it completely organic so my dogs and grandkids and birds will be safe. I'm safe. So I'm safe. Than to sell a glyphosate. We don't sell glyphosate here at Waters Garden Center. We took a stance 2-3 years ago when we knew this was cancer causing. Now they've had a judgment for $289 million to a gentleman that's dying of cancer because of glyphosate, Roundup. So we just decided years ago that we're not going to do this. And so we've been nurturing, teaching our customers here local in the central highlands of Arizona how to kill weeds smarter. So burnout is the first and foremost. What I do, well, first and foremost, let me tell you what I really do. Before the rains come and before the weeds even start, I put weed and grass stopper down. There's a granular you put down, and it doesn't even allow the seed to germinate. If you do that, 99% of all your issues are gone. You just won't have weeds. You have to use weed and grass stopper twice a year, though, is what I notice. So you've got to use it in June, and you have to use it in January. Just think the J months. January, June. January, you start to see all the winter weeds. That's when your dandelions and your foxtail and all these annual weeds that come back every year by seed, they take over. And they're nasty weeds. They're very aggressive, but they love the cold. Put it down then, you won't have weeds. Now is when all the tumbleweed and the horehound and the spurge and the goat head, there's what's a low-growing ground cover that has a burr on it that will, when you step on it, I mean, like your shoes, it's popped tractor tires on my bikes. There's not a basketball around the kids will have, or soccer that will not be popped by these burrs, these seed. And so it comes back. It only comes back by seed. If you put weed and grass stopper down, you won't have goat head. But you have to be preventative. It can't be an aftermath. If you've already got weeds, you have to kill them off with burnout. After they're controlled, then you can put the weed and grass stopper down and no more weeds will come at you. The problem is our season is so mild and so long that we have we get, every month has got a weed that comes up. And so you need to be preventative on it. But that's kind of how I go about it. I also, here at the garden center, in my pavers, only the pavers, the driveway, the fence line where you don't want anything to grow ever. They've got a product. We've got it here at the store. Probably should not tell you this because some of you are going to blunder and make mistakes and kill off your trees. Don't use this product underneath your drip lines, around your shrubs. It will kill them. Nothing's going to grow for a year. Well, it's great in pavers. We've got weeds coming in between the cracks of your driveway or your patio. Here I've got 2 acres of pavers that we just make it easy to get people through the nursery. There I use Ground Force Vegetation Killer. This is a liquid, mix it up in a watering can, and you just pour it where the liquid goes in between the nooks and crannies and cracks, and nothing. It kills the soil, the sand in between your pavers, the soil down the driveway. It kills everything so nothing grows for up to a year. I mean, it kills the soil. If a seed comes in, it's not going to grow. The negative is it kills the soil. So if you put it underneath your trees and the trees have roots going in that soil, it kills the soil and everything in the soil. Can you see how dangerous that could be? So you want to be really strategic on where you use that. But there's some places where you can use it. A gallon bottle only goes about 300 square feet. So you got to use it strategically and it's saturated. Whereas a bag of weed and grass stopper, 5,000 square feet for like 20, 22 bucks, something like that. It's a lot of coverage for the dollar with Weed Stopper. I'd rather see you use that as a preventative where you don't have to worry about sprinkling that underneath your trees and shrubs. You put Weed and Grass Stopper down, no worries. Doesn't affect a plant. It only kills the seed. Burnout, the one we started with, that's a liquid, kind of like a Roundup, only it's all organic. It's safe. It's not going to give you cancer like Roundup will or glyphosates. So that one you can spray, but if you spray your rosemary, yes, it's organic, and it will organically kill your rosemary or your lavender or anything else it touches. So there, if you're in between a garden bed, it won't affect the soil at all. It only affects the foliage of the plant that you spray. There, if you're spraying next to your roses or in the herb gardens, wherever you want to keep things organic, that's a great one to use. But don't let that spray float over and touch the foliage of the things you don't want to die. So spray the weeds, not your herbs or your roses or other things. It'll kill anything it touches. There you can actually take a shield, a piece of cardboard or something. You can use it as a break to keep that that overspray from getting onto the desired plant that you want, but kill the weed. So we call that using a shield. So a big piece of cardboard or something really works well for that. Okay, I went way deeper than I wanted to go onto weeds. If you got weeds, come talk to us. We'll show you how to keep it safe and effective. But we've got a lot of weed growing season left. They're going to take over if you don't do something about the weeds in your yard.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Ken, with our Vine of the Week and our Arizona Sunset Trumpet Vine.
Huge, deep red flowers cluster to create a dramatic summer show.
This vigorous vine thrives and blooms with near neglect.
Fast growing to cover chain link fence, shade structures, and trellis quick.
Easy to train as a ground cover up a rock face to hold soils from erosion, and just $34.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love vines that bloom red, they love to shop.
Ouch! Aw, man, another rock! Hi, I'm Rusty. You know, the shovel you're destroying trying to dig that hole? Sure, I get it. You got these beautiful plants at Waters Garden Center. Waters asked if they could plant them for you. But no, you had to do it yourself, even though they would plant, deliver, and guarantee your plants for 2 years. I hope I don't end up like that old pickaxe. Ouch! Prevent yard tool abuse. Waters Garden Center. They plant, deliver, and guarantee.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
This week, I did write a good garden column. I thought it was really good. It's how to garden on a budget. Some ideas on how to just save a buck or two. Going in, there's some great ideas on how to get more out of your garden dollars. Gardening is a true hobby. I mean, as a gardener, you've got passions. So if your thing is hunting, you've got reloading and ammo and guns. And if you're fishing thing, if you're a knitter, you've got huge quilts and things. Your hobby, there should be things that you can enjoy your money on. But hobbies can be all-consuming. And so there's a way I shared that. I write a column every week, and then I email it directly from my desktop out to our Waters Garden Club. There's about 10,000 people on this garden club list. Mainly Arizona, but there's some folks from all around the country. Just got a note from a gentleman there's moving from Washington, coming down to retiring in 2 months. Welcome to God's country. No one is from here, so all are welcome. Yes, we poke and prod at Californians, but you know what? It's only half of the people moving here from California. The other half, they're from everywhere. The Midwest is well represented. My assistant's from New Hampshire, so they're from everywhere. So I think that's just part of Arizona's always been, the Prescott area especially, has always been an area of rest, of therapy, of relaxation, of a pace that is just slower, of health. And that's what we're famous for. And the culture represents that. I mean, Flagstaff, you all are famous. I love going to Flagstaff. You all are famous for that outdoorsy woodsman. We love being out here. Let's go skiing. Let's go kayaking. Let's go whatever we're doing. Let's go. You're just famous for that. And so the White Mountains, I love going. The White Mountains are my thing. It's the mountains, only grander, taller, more snow, more weather, greener, more trees are taller. I just love that. And so we've got this northern Arizona small town, pace is slower thing. All are welcome. Just remember that we're here if you need help gardening. It's different. It's definitely a different gardening experience. You will kill a couple things as you learn to re-hone your skills to this new garden environment. I think that's anytime you move to a house. The soil's different. The exposure, the sun is different. And so each week we write a garden column and we have a host a garden class. And so let me see if I can pull that up on the website. So watersgardencenter.com. At the top, it's got blog. If you want to hear the how to garden on a budget, it's right there. The top blog post. It was just posted a couple days ago. It's there for you. It's free. Take it. If you want an email direct from my desktop to yours, I'll be glad to add you. As long as you find interest in it, great. Share it with friends. At the bottom, just below the blog post, there's a subscribe button. If there's an unsubscribe button whenever you move away or I just annoy you or I said something you don't like, go unsubscribe. I don't want you if you don't want the garden info. But it's meant to be a true help to up your game quicker if your hobby is gardening. If your hobby's not gardening, you just want a nice backyard that's easy to maintain. We write on that one too. Some of the classes coming up this weekend, it's simple seed saving. So how do you harvest some of these seeds, wildflowers to tomatoes to whatever? Irrigation has been a problem. Erosion's been a problem, and there's just been a lot of rain. And so we're going over next week, the 25th of August, ground covers, vines, and erosion control. Low-growing plants that will lock things in. And then one of my best attended always is September 1st, Gardening for Newcomers. That's September 1. Every Saturday at 9:30, we've got a garden class. They're free. They're meant to help you to be a better gardener. Plus, you get to hang out with some, gardeners, let's face it, that love fancy gloves and funky hats and knee pads. They like all that new garden tool. They just like the hobby called gardening. And so you get to hang out with 30, 40 other people like you. And so they're classes that are meant to be better, make you a better gardener. You can also check all those out at watersgardencenter.com under classes.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
This is Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center, and we're here at the Garden Center floor asking customers, why do you garden?
Very relaxing and interesting, and I love watching the hummingbirds in the summer.
And why do you like shopping at Waters Garden Center?
There's so much variety, lot of choice, and everybody knows everything about the stuff they sell, which is very good.
Waters Garden Center, helping people reconnect at 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, the place where people who love to garden love to shop.
You've been listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to the area. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott at 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to The Mountain Gardener.